Hey guys, welcome back out in the garage. Today I just want to talk about or show you what I use when I'm doing cylinder head work, okay? Or cylinder head port work, I should say, not cylinder head work, because we do use the IDL, the seat guide machine and everything. But I want to kind of show you what I've been using over the last 40 years, all right? And if you're a do-it-yourself guy, this may help you because you will see a lot of this stuff is not a high dollar item, okay? So, and I've been doing it, like I say, for 40 years, doing cylinder head work off and on in between other stuff I have going on, builds and stuff. So, I just kind of wanted to show you this stuff, and maybe if you're planning on doing your own cylinder head porting and stuff, this might help you figure out what you want to get, unless you're going to open some shop where you're going to be a professional head porter, let's say, then and want to do it all the time, then you're going to, of course, probably get something different. All right. So I just want to talk a little bit about what I use and how I go about it, and just show you some of the tooling, and then maybe that'll help you out a little bit. Okay. And I can't tell you how many heads that I've ported over all those years. I couldn't tell you, but there's been a lot. And basically, this is what I have right here. And there could be some other little stuff I didn't throw on the table because I was trying to make, get what I could just to make this video, and I may be missing a piece or two. But anyway, you'll see. And I'll talk a little bit about, how I do it or go about it. So, first off, we'll just start off with the tool you need, okay? Totally basic tool is a drill. I know it doesn't turn fast enough. A lot of guys say a drill does not turn fast enough to do port work. A drill, if you're just gonna take your time and go in there and you're just doing it on your own stuff, actually a drill will work. Variable speed preferred, okay? And it will do quite a bit of the work, okay? You'd be really surprised. It's just gonna be hard to get into some places because it's more bulky, okay? Unless you have a long shank that's on with your tooling. So, drill, okay? I just wanted to point that out right off the bat. Drills work, okay? And everybody just about has one. And you don't have to have a DeWalt. You can go and get you just a basic one that's not very expensive, and if it wears out, you can throw it in the trash and you get another one. Okay, so drill. You can have a drill with your porting stuff. Die grinder, electric die grinder. This is what I use. I get these from Harbor Freight. They were cheap. I haven't had to have one in a while. This one's already been. I've had this one now for 3 or 4 years. Okay, and it's still going. But back then, I think it was $29.95, but it might be a lot more now since all these prices went up. Of course, it's just a 1/4 inch electric, but it's not a variable speed. So I hooked this to my foot pedal. That way I can use it as a variable speed. Okay, so all I have to do is turn the button on, plug it into my foot pedal, and then I just use my foot pedal because I like to keep my hands, like I've said in other videos, as free, or as, I like to keep them. I don't want to be holding the button. Let's just say that. I don't want to have to be like holding real tight or pushing down on a variable speed electric or air. Okay, so I like using electric mostly all the time. I very seldom use air. A lot of guys say air is the only way to go, but to make air work for you, to really make it work, you almost want an air compressor that's kind of big. It doesn't have to be real big, but not one of those real small ones. You're going to want maybe a stand-up or whatever you get from Lowe's or Home Depot, wherever. But it's going to run, okay? So you're going to have that air hose usually over your shoulder. Most guys that use air have it over the shoulder. It helps prop it up, okay? And you're doing your thing. You'll probably want the air compressor out back somewhere because it's going to run. I don't care what air tool you have, even if it says it's conservative, that thing's going to run when you're doing port work. And I do use air sometimes, so don't get me wrong, but most of the time it's electric, okay? It's this here. Now, another tool that's my favorite out of all my stuff is this Dremel. And it's 1/4 inch also. It's not 1/8 inch, it's 1/4 inch. This is what I hang this here. You can hang it on a nail, you can hang it on your bench somewhere, wherever. You can put your foot pedal, okay? You can have your foot pedal wherever you want it when you're doing your work. This is hanging, got your tool in there. And man, this thing goes way up. I mean, look how small this is. You can get up in there, you can do a lot of stuff. And this thing actually turns fast enough. It's not as fast as maybe some of these air and electric die grinders, but it's fast, okay? And you can do greatly with this. It's easy to shape with and everything. I mean, it's so free. And you don't have to use 2 hands. You're actually just using 1 hand, or you can use both like this to get sturdy with it. Or you can just touch little spots easy like this. It goes up in especially on the exhaust side and down in the bowls. You need something small. But you just hang this bad boy up. It's got an on-off switch. Turn it on, then you can just use your foot pedal. Okay? So that's basically my favorite way of doing it. And you can see this cord has been wrapped with tape and everything else. It is totally wore out. And you can still get this. We looked it up not too long ago just because I was kind of wanting to get a new cable here, and I wanted to see if they still offered it, and they do. So anyway, and I made a mess out of all these cords. Okay, so right there, cool tool. And this hooks to that same pedal. You just plug it in, turn the switch on, and you can be variable speed with this. You'll find out variable speed electric, you'll be able to work with really good. As far as the air, basic die grinder. This is an old one. I mean, it's so wore out. It don't even have no tags or labels or anything on it no more. I've had this thing since probably the 80s. As long as you keep them oiled, they last a long time. This front piece keeps on spinning. Sometimes it comes off, but you can, these work real good. It's just a basic die grinder, but it's an air one. It's not a long shank one. I mean, it doesn't have that snout. It goes way out like a lot of the air ones. This is just a little, I just go in there to touch. But to work with that, I have this littler one. And I kind of like this guy. He's a little guy, but it's 1/8 inch. And it also comes with, well, you won't be able to see in that bag, but another collet for 1/4 inch. So this does 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch. And I bought this at Tractor Supply for like, it was $10. It was $9.99 in one of those little tray things when you first walk in, and you see all these tools and stuff. I bought that, okay? And this thing is small, but it also helps out, and it doesn't eat a lot of air, but you're not using it for your full porting. Okay, so there's that and that. So, now let's get down to more like, that was everything to run it. Now when you're actually going to start doing this stuff, of course, one thing you need, I don't care what time of the day or anything it is, because you either got shadows or it's dark, you need light, okay? I've had this thing for a long time, and it's actually a magnifying glass, okay? They use it in hospitals. You can move this thing wherever you want it over your piece you're working on, like saying it swivels and everything. If you can find one of these somewhere, you got it made. Or just your regular, flashlights, magnetic. Of course, this one here is magnetic, and you can, if you're doing an iron head, it'll, lock right on there. You can just turn it on. If it's aluminum head, you'll have to just lay it around, or you can make maybe an iron base, something you can just set around with it, and that way you can hook, the magnetic to it. So lighting is very important, like I say, very, very important. And I like this light because it's light plus it's not magnetic, but it's magnifying. So when you're blind like me, it helps you see. And you can actually really see in there sometimes really good, and you'd be surprised. Or you can always just get you a magnifying glass if you need to really see in there better, okay? So there's the lighting, because there's the tools, there's the lighting. I use a block of wood mostly to set the head on, to move it around stuff. You can use, you know, V blocks of some sort, but I can only use these a little bit because once you get in a certain spot or a certain port, depending on what end it is or where it is setting, these things get in the way sometimes. These little arms, they kind of get in the way with your tool. So these, they work. Don't get me wrong, they work good actually, depending on what's going on. But I found just using a block of wood, you can flip that head all over the place and just use the block just to prop it up. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, it might have to be a 4x4 or a 2x4 or whatever you're working with. This is going to help you. Now let's just go to basic stuff. First, you're going to have always protection of some sort. You know, if you want to wear a mask, you should wear a mask. Eye protection, ear protection, and I'm guilty of ear protection. I'm guilty of all of this probably because a lot of times this stuff, I used to wear that face mask right there, but it kept like, you know, I pull it up and it falls down. And then these you can tell haven't been used much at all. They still look brand new. And sometimes I do wear these, but not always, so I'm guilty of that. Towels, blue towels, always come in handy. You'll find that out. Or just towels. Okay, now, tooling. Okay, that was all your grinding stuff I showed you. That was all your main power tooling. Now you're gonna need little tools when you're porting. Okay, like little tools for like gauging and you know, miking and stuff. So you got, you know, you have this guy here. I'm sure you guys have seen this, you know, these things, okay? You can go in there and you can, you know, set it where you want it, and then you're grinding. Okay, those come in real handy. You have this style, okay? This style's kind of cool. This one doesn't get used as much as this guy, but these do get used. So that's a good gauge there. Let's see. These are cool. These you can make yourself at home, okay? I use this a lot. I had a longer one, but I have no idea where it's at. And I haven't used it in a long time, but I think when I moved all the stuff home, it might have got tossed. But this is just made out of a clothes hanger, you know, a regular clothes hanger with a bolt. And it's a very cool tool. It's so you can, let's say, okay, we want this thickness here. Basically, it just opens. See how that opens and closes? So when you are in a port, like this guy, it's the same thing as using this guy, but if you put this right here like this, okay, let's say this was a port, and we wanted this thickness. Well, it's not helping us because you may be if you go into a port or something, you may not be able to just come out of the valve cover area or whatever, unless you open it back up to see what that distance is. So with this guy, like this, you can actually go in there and you pinch it, and while it's still pinched, let's just say it's still in there, I can see the distance on this side. See? This side, this side. A lot of head porters don't even tell you guys about this tool. They don't even use them. This is an old school thing that's been around forever, okay? And I still swear by it. I'll go in there, like I say, you can go right into the port, and let's say you have to open it really wide because of the valve cover rail or whatever, okay? And then you can squeeze it. All right, and it stops. Then you'll be able to read it. You can get your calipers or whatever tooling you want, and you can gauge this side. Best tool ever, and it's the cheapest one. You can make those right at your house. Like I say, a 1/4-inch bolt is even better, but this is 5/16, and then just a clothes hanger. You just cut it, bend it, and do your little deal. Can't beat that. Like I say, and a lot of head porters don't even talk about tools like this. And that's something I think you guys should know about, since it's an easy tool to make. You'll figure out how to make it. It's not really tricky if you think about it. So you have that. You're gonna need tooling as far as, let's see, I'll probably drop half of this. You just need some kind, whatever tools you need to work, to put your pieces in the end of the chuck, let's say. Okay, like I use pliers, I have the end wrenches I need. See, and then you'll have these, you'll have stuff like that. Okay, you'll need. Now let's get even more into the actual cutting work. I don't have an expensive set. This is some of the stuff I use right here. As you can see, basic, not high dollar at all. This was dirt. These are dirt cheap. I use them. If they tear up or they break or whatever, get another one. Same here. See if I can dump these out. Just a whole bunch more of these little carbides and stuff. I don't know if that's even showing. Okay. The aluminum ones, of course, have that big flute like that. I got some of those in there, even in the ball style. Okay. So you need a little stack of those. Then here's a long aluminum one. I don't know if I have cameras on. Okay, that's for aluminum. Then, of course, you're gonna need all these kind of guys that hold the hold these guys. And you just you can buy these through a lot of different places. Just get you a whole bunch of these. Some of these are Harbor Freight ones. They don't last that long, but if you get the Goodson ones, okay, that's what these little boxes are, because normally I buy them through Goodson. Okay, these here, they last a lot longer. And then it goes on forever. I got so much, there's even wire wheels and everything in here. There's so much that you'll collect, and you just want to hang on to it. That's what this box here is. I keep everything in one box, and I can take it anywhere I want. Let's see, cross buffs, got a whole bag of cross buffs. So when you're doing a polishing part, what else I got over here? Stones. I don't use a lot of stones. A lot of guys like to use stones. I just don't do it too much. But here's a bag of different shapes and size stones. Sandpaper. You're always gonna want sandpaper, or emery cloth, sandpaper to go in there with. And other miscellaneous tools you'll find that'll work with you. Files. Head porters don't understand what files are for in my box. Believe it or not, files come in handy. And something else that comes in handy is pencil. A lot of times I'll put the sandpaper, because sometimes you might want to use your finger, and you go in there and you're just kind of using the sandpaper with the finger. You can also put it on a pencil. You can maybe get a little more reach, or it could be, and it's not as big around, so you might get into a tighter area. I just use a pencil, and sometimes I just put tape, use tape to hold the sandpaper on there. So that works really well. I don't have no Dicom. I'm out of Dicom. Dicom is something you can use to put around ports. Then of course you're gonna need something to scribe it with. So just make you this is just a screw that I ground in real sharp. And you can, to help scribe. What else is cool around here? I know there's more stuff here. felt, I mean, these black pens, these Sharpies, they come in handy to mark stuff down in there. You might have a spot, you can kind of, you know, go over it like that and then touch it with your tool. That way, you know, you're not touching other areas. You can just, or just to make sure you're touching it. Because sometimes when you get them too shiny, it's hard to see and you might want to reach in there for something. So if you just put a little mark on it, you'll be able to see it better. So I carry one of these. Of course, you gotta have scissors for the sandpaper and tape. Also with your Dicom and your scribing and stuff, I just have this little ruler just so I can make a little more straight of an edge. I like this one because it's magnetic. So on the iron heads, I don't think I have any iron, do I? So the iron heads, it'll stay on there. But of course on your aluminum heads, it won't. You'll have to hold it on there. So these come in real handy. You're gonna need that. I think I just about showed everything. But don't get rid of stuff. I mean, you'll find out that there's a lot of stuff you're gonna need. I even got a baby pair of those. Okay, all this stuff. And once you start collecting it, just put it in a box, and you'd be surprised. Before you know it, you'll have a bunch of stuff, and you're gonna wish you had it. Okay, so brush. I keep a brush in there. Sometimes you might want to brush a little area, so I keep a brush in there. I do everything easy. I just, as you can see, it's just a lot of stuff. But it's not this messy when I'm porting the cylinder head because I'm working out of this box here. This box will have, these will be, you know, set in there. These are set in there. Everything's got their spot, okay? And I can just work out of there. And then I think that's it. And there is a trick when using these little barrel things. I was trying to find you know, these go on here. You know, these go on there. And of course, we use a lot of these is being used in almost in every job. You're going to end up with these. But you're cutting with the other ones first. But there is a trick to using these, because I've had guys say, you must go through a bunch of those, because it was some of this port stuff I do. And really you don't, because this should last you, one of these should last you a while, okay, in that port, easy. Because what I found what a lot of guys are doing when they're using this, let's just put this on, and let's say they're in their porting, a lot of times they're using the tip. They're always going like this, I noticed. I've even seen even the higher up guys doing like this, okay? And then you're getting into a cone shape. You're always gonna have a kind of a cone shape. It's hard to not have that cone shape, but you really don't want it. If you want a cone shape, then you're gonna wanna get one that's, you know, you should be using, let's see. Should be using one that's already coned, okay? If you're wanting to do that. So you always use this flat, okay? This thing will last you so long if you go in there and let's say you're doing the sides, you know, of the port and everything. Always keep this as flat as you can, all right? And go in there and use the back of it. I use the back of this area right here a lot, okay? So a lot of times you might have a spot and you'll find out if you actually put the tool that you're using, okay, you go in there with it and maybe tilt it up just a hair and use this back side, or use the bottom, I should say the bottom at the back, huh? Then you can get that, you can square it up. I see guys like on the edge of the port, let's say where the entry is, and they're still using that, and they're going like this, okay? Well, put it all the way in and go like this. With this back part, you're gonna find that you can square it up very easily because this is going to cut. This here, out here, also doesn't have the support that this does, because this is inside this little mandrel thing a lot deeper in here. That just has that little shaft in there. And so you can actually, I shouldn't even be telling these secrets, right? But I guess I can. You just use this bottom part here, and that's how you can actually square it up and stuff. So these will actually last a long time if you keep it, always use this flat and try to use the whole roll, okay? Don't just keep using this and it starts wearing out, so you're moving down to here. These things will end up getting really short, right, and pointy. That means basically you should have went to a different style, okay? Plus, if you get them too short, then the end of this metal piece is sticking out and it starts messing with you. So these are actually used to go as flat. You keep it as flat as you can. And you'll find flat, you don't have to push real hard. These will last a long time. You may be able to do that whole port, you know, depending on what you're doing, if you have to use the other tools first, the carbides, and make one of these last a long time. So, and then use this bottom. No one ever used the bottom. You ever notice when they throw these things away? You see guys all the time. I see guys all the time on videos or at their shop or whatever. You see them all over the place, throw them away. But you still have all this good material down here, but this is all wasted. That's because you're using it like this instead of like this, okay? So always keep this as flat as you can. I know it sounds hard to do, and there's cases you're gonna say there's no way you can keep it flat on a certain port angle or whatever, but just try to keep it as flat as you can. And try to use the bottom too. There's no rule says you have to use just this tip up here. You can use the bottom. I use the bottom all the time, okay? So when I get to the edges and stuff, I will cock that up and I will actually use this bottom part and do that. Again, my hands are very free because I'm not trying to hold the trigger. I'm not trying to hold hoses. I just have the gas pedal, variable speed, and I can actually slow it way down if I want to, just to see how I'm hitting it, and then hit the throttle, you know what I mean, or whatever. So there's a lot to learn when you're using these, okay, these cartridge rolls. There's a lot to learn how to actually use them. So you don't, because this, I mean, even a lot of mine are pointed here because it's gonna happen in some cases, but a lot of these I get hand-me-downs, okay, because I'll be at other shops or buddies and they'll have some of these, and I'll just say, you're throwing those, you know, you're not gonna use those, don't away, because they think they're just, you know, they're gone. So I take them because I'll start using the bottom part. You really can't flip them around. Once you had it locked, you know, twisted on here, they won't really stay, but you can use the bottom part. I've actually cut them and then cut my metal tip. I think I have one in here. Actually, I got one in here that has no tip, and it'll still work because I'm using the bottom. Okay, so maybe I'll show that sometimes, or maybe you can go ahead and try it when you're doing your cylinder head. But these last a long time, and people eat them up. I watch guys go through 3 or 4 of these in 2 ports, you know what I mean? Doing this, I was like, no, that thing should last you 2 ports if you did it correctly, depending on the port. I mean, I understand some ports are gonna be a lot different, but that's the deal with that. These should actually last a lot longer than what you would think if you keep it flat and you try not to use just the end of it, okay? So, okay, I don't know what else to talk about here. And gloves. Gloves is always something you don't have to have gloves if you feel better. They don't have to be thick like this. They can be rubber gloves or whatever you want. But sometimes the electric tools, not that little guy, but like the big one, might get warm a little bit. Or you do have maybe a little bit of, you know, you're just moving it around. So gloves just might feel better. But there's no rule says you have to wear gloves, okay? The other protection is kind of cool, but not necessarily the gloves. But most of us all wear some sort of a glove, okay? So, and again, if you can get a foot pedal, they still sell them, and all your other electric tools will hook right to it. It'll plug right into it. You'll always have a variable speed. You'll find variable speed is the best tool to have when you're porting. And the most all air, of course, is variable speed. All your air tools. And you can get electric die grinders that are variable speed. Okay, but it has a trigger up here. Excuse me. It's just that I don't like using my hands that much. I like to keep them, you know, relaxed. So I rather use my foot. And we use our foot every day when we drive and stuff. So you know, you'll have that down good. So, I think that's it. I might have missed something. I don't know, but this was my mess. And basically, you can go a long ways with this. So with all this I have up here, I could probably do several more sets of heads without even never buying another piece. I can do a lot of cylinder heads now. I'm looking at it. Without buying nothing, okay? And like I say, these are cheap. If it breaks, see that bearing here usually is the first thing that wants to go out. And what makes those bearings go out actually is heavy tooling and a lot of pressure. So like if you're putting, let's say like a flapper wheel, a big flapper wheel on there, and you have that thing cranked up, that can actually be hard on that bearing. Okay, but these things are so dirt cheap. Like I said, I've had this one, it might be 4 years now. I know it's been over 3 years, and I've done lots of stuff with it. I use it for cutting also, you know, with the little cutoff wheel. You can just see it up there. Yes, I use the cutoff wheel and everything in this, and it's still going. And these are not expensive at all. And it's at a point where, I mean, if this thing really messed up with it, you just toss it and get you another one. I did have a Makita, I think it was Makita, for a long time. I had, before I was buying these Harbor Freight ones, I had a Makita, I don't remember where I got it, and that thing did last a long time. I was real happy with it. But this one here, I've only had 2 of these. The one before this lasted a long time, but then I knocked the bearings out. Okay, I could have changed the bearings. You can change those bearings. But I figured, you know, by the time I find that bearing, order that bearing, have that bearing shipped, I just do this out. And I just went Harbor Freight, got this one. 4 years later, I'm still using it, okay? And as long as you don't misuse things, they'll last a lot longer too. And that might be part of the key is not to misuse stuff. All right, I don't know how long this video's been, but I just wanted to talk about all that. And don't forget to make your tool, because here, I'll kind of give you an idea. I still have, let's see, here we go. Let me see if this will work. Let me pull this out. Some heads, you have to make the end pieces, the bands more. But let's say, okay, here we go. Let me, this is a great idea. I mean, a great example. Let's see if that'll blow that up. So basically, I think I almost bent this dang thing trying to hold it. So let's say I was wanting this thickness here. When you're using this guy, you can get it, but then when you're trying to get it out, you might have to twist this again and everything, and then you lost what you did. Where our old school tools that us old timers use, we can open this, go in there, squeeze this, and there's our thickness. Let me see, is it in the camera? Yeah. So this here, there's our thickness right there. How could you go wrong? Isn't that not the best tool for a homemade tool? So, I mean, you could put it in different areas, but sometimes you may have to make this longer. Okay, these things here longer. So, but this will work in majority of all the ports, but some of this aftermarket stuff got raised ports and stuff, so that's a long distance there. But this wasn't too bad. So now once you measure that one, you can go to this one, hit the same spots, and you'll be able to see your, well, that one ain't showing, but see, then you can measure that one versus that one. See, so like I said, when air flows, horsepower grows. And there you go. I'll start showing you all this little stuff. But again, well, shoot. There it is. All right, guys, I waste a lot of time. That's over 30 minutes. I usually don't go that long. I hope this was somewhat of a cool little video thing. I don't know, maybe I felt like talking tonight. So I just want to show all this. I could probably go on even deeper with it, but you kind of get the idea now. So again, if you're more of a do-it-yourself guy, you're not planning on doing bunch of heads, cylinder heads, then just this is pretty basic stuff right here. Okay, that's all you really need. You can start off small, slowly get stuff as you go, and like I say, but measuring tools is a plus. If you can stay electric with the foot, that's a plus. If you have to go air, I suggest, you know, more of a stand-up style air compressor. Maybe put it outside, you know, or somewhere it ain't so noisy, so you have to listen to it, because you're already going to hear the noise from the head grinding itself. So why add it, you know, all that with it? Like I say, in the files. Again, most guys don't understand it. Well, some guys might say, why do you need a file? But you will find, you may go in there and you can file little areas. It's a file, and the cylinder heads are metal, okay? And I use files. I use even these triangle files, whatever you want to call it, with the sharp edges. You can actually go in there on the edge on some of these square ports, you know, that are rectangle or square, not rounded, and you can actually touch little areas and make that a little sweeter. So, all right, guys. As always, I'll think of something else here, maybe next time. But I hope that was kind of informational. All right. As always, you guys stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.